In a lifetime filled with significant accomplishments, D.W. Onan was notable for two things. First, he had an amazing talent for things mechanical. And secondly, he was a true humanitarian with great respect and compassion for the people around him.
Just plain liked people. He would go out of his way to meet people.
I was working on a job probably one day or 2 days, and this guy walked by and he walked up and we introduced himself as D.W. Onan. And he introduced himself and he just welcomed me to the company, and at that point this is a place for me, you know. Every morning he'd be out on University Avenue there, and had big pillars outside, and he'd be out there every morning talking to everybody. He knew everybody by name.
One day he come down there and he stood there and looked at me. I was doing some drill press work. The parts were pretty big, you know. He watched me and he hollered, you know. I just kept right on working. I knew who he was. He says, "Hey kid, I want to talk to you." So I went over to the aisle, you know, and talked to him a little bit. He says, "Don't you think those parts are a little heavy?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "Don't seem to bother me." He said, "Be awful careful. We don't want you to get injured, you know." And that's the way he was.
In the early 20s, the business got an unexpected boost from a new product with a misspelled name, the Onan safety saw. D.W. invented the saw to speed up the process of building wooden crates, which were used to ship his automotive test benches. In the mid-20s, most rural areas still didn't have electricity. Bud was able to take parts from the Onan safety saw and put together the first Onan generator, called the 10-light. The 10-light generator sold for $99, plus an additional $12 if you wanted 10 light bulbs and the wiring to hook it up.
He'd strap the 10-light on the bumper, go out Glenwood Avenue to Golden Valley, which didn't have electricity at the time, sell a light plant, and then go wire the house.
The Great Depression that started with the stock market crash in 1929 had only a minimal impact on Onan. Despite 3 years of declining sales in the early 1930s, the company managed to sustain steady growth after that through the end of the decade.
Oh, I started part-time in 1936. Said, "Gee whiz, we need some windows washed, some painting done down at the plant. Come on down." He said, "I can pay you 35 cents an hour." For myself, 35 cents an hour was wonderful. I had a job. A lot of kids didn't have jobs.
As much as Onan changed during its first 20 years in business, it was nothing compared to the dramatic changes that the company underwent during the war years. Onan supplied over 50% of all the generator sets used by the Allied forces in the war. The sales grew from about $1 million in 1942 to $50 million by the end of 1945. At the same time, employment went from 70 people to over 2,500 people in support of the war effort.
The entire production capacity of the company was to the military, and that's for two reasons. First of all, the military needed small generator sets, and secondly, there was no material to build it for anything else.
For the fellows who had been working at Onan at least 6 months prior to going into service in World War II, when they came back, he gave them a bonus. Remember, here's guys have been away in the service for 2, 3, 4 years, and come back, they have nothing, but here's D.W. offering him this big service bonus. So that cemented, if you will, relationships with his employees who had gone into service. He didn't have to do that. That was strictly voluntary.
It pulled together the very best of the people that were there. Many of those people had been employed before the war. Some of them were employed because of the war, but what was left was a really good cadre of people in production and sales, and also in design. The technology that came out of World War II was very significant for the company, both in the design of generators and controls and the design of engines.
During the 50s and the 60s, there was a tremendous refocus of the business away from the military to commercial applications.
The Onan family members had done quite well during World War II and the years immediately preceding it. But they recognized that additional large investments were needed to really make the company grow.
The decision was made to sell the company to Studebaker in 1960.
When they bought Onan, they allowed about $1 million for tooling up the J-Series, and that was a godsend because Onan just didn't have the money to do that.
The unique culture that the Onan family molded in the company for the first 40 years of business was unchanged by the new owners.
Back in what we'd call the good old days, I guess, there used to be, in the winter, there'd be snowballs flying around sometimes. And
everybody was working together, everybody had a fun, everybody was one big happy family.
Oh yeah, I've played in the golf tournaments. I'm not good, but we have a lot of fun. And the chorus I sang in, I can't remember the years, but I know we went to Chicago to the Musicland Festival and we took first place.
We were fortunate enough to get on the Ted Mack Amateur Hour and we won there as well. So we had a very successful and fun group.
When you say you work at Onan, it seems like you get a pretty good reception from outsiders. Oh, you work at Onan, I hear that's a good place to work, that type of stuff.
There was a pride in ourselves and in our work and in just the name of Onan.
The first time that I knew about Onan was when I was about 8 years old and my grandfather worked here. We got to meet Mr. Onan and we thought that was great. So my grandfather was always proud of Onan.
Certain markets, like the marine market and the recreational vehicle market, the name Onan has become synonymous with genset.
The house car name was more used than what the motorhome was, even though the motorhome name was used at that time. House car was the thing. And we worked hard in those days. We had a standard set that we modified extensively at times to meet the given compartment requirements of the motorhome in terms of heat and cooling and airflow and so forth and so on.
And that combination of a wide range of product and the ability to change our product, plus our know-how at quieting units and getting rid of the vibration, won us a unique place in the RV market.
As you look forward, we talk about growth markets, we talked about power generation being a growth market back in '84, '85. I think that's still the case.
Absolutely. I can't think of another market that we're involved with that has no exposure to cyclicality or very minor exposure. If you go to India, you go to China, certain niches in developed countries, there's a tremendous need for power generation. And it's as far out as any of the specialists can predict. And so this allows us to have profitable growth, and we're not subject to the kind of cyclicality that we have in other parts of our business. And this is a tremendous opportunity. And as you know, I think we will be announcing this fall that power generation is one of the primary strategic initiatives. And we've had emphasis, and I think we're going to have even more emphasis on it.
Right. I think we've set the target to be $2 billion in the year 2000.
Right.
So that's a tall order, but I think we can deliver it.
When D.W. Onan had just a handful of employees, it was pretty easy to know what was going on in their minds. Today, with nearly 4,000 employees, it's a lot harder to know what people are thinking. The worldwide employee survey that we took last year is one means of tapping into the minds and hearts of our people.
If you work together with other people and you're not afraid to speak up, and you can accomplish a lot more.
The more that people work together and the more integrated they are as teams and the more that they help each other, the better our product is going to be.
If we expect to delight our customers, and that's our goal, then we have to provide an environment where everybody has a chance to make a difference and to feel good about being a part of the team.
I think there has been a positive chemistry in the human relationships between the people in both companies. I think there's a shared value system. That value system has trust, integrity, honesty, dealing with people with dignity and respect, being responsible citizens in the community. And I think that this sharing of a common value system has been a bond between the two companies.
Well, my name is still on the building, and so I'm conscious of that and proud of what people have done here to maintain what I guess we started.
What we've still got in this company is that people all work together, and that's why when somebody comes around and says, get this stuff out, we all kind of get together as a team and get it out. So
When I started, I thought I would be here for 4 or 5 years and move on. But I started having fun and I couldn't leave.
A guy called me and offered me a job. And I said, I love Onan as much as I do my wife. So I didn't take the job.
I'm going to retire in a week. But when I look back, sure, I'll miss the company, but it's the people that you really miss. The associations that you've had, there's just a awfully lot of wonderful, wonderful people here. People with a lot of knowledge, people that are very dedicated. So I can say nothing but good about the people.
I hope for Onan's continued success in the future, because I do have a sincere desire to remain an employee at Onan until my retirement in the year 2011.
On this anniversary occasion, it's with great pride that we reflect on our 75 years in power. The first 75 years were terrific, but the best is yet to come.